We're on.
Welcome
back to the Drake and Josh podcast. Unofficial name, but he's Drake and I'm Josh.
It works. It works.
But it's all right. So what are we talking about today?
So today we're going to be discussing seeking discomfort, which is something that has been somewhat of a theme for me in the past couple of months. Back in December, I was in Florida, and I was staying with some friends there, and I was supposed to go out snorkeling, and it was stormy that day, so the snorkeling trip got canceled, and I was like, I should go get a tattoo. So I was thinking about what kind of a tattoo I should get, and I was like, I want something that's gonna, because I don't have any tattoos other than this. This was gonna be my first tattoo, and I don't know what, but I ended up on YouTube, and I ended up watching a Yes Theory video, and I was like, oh, seek discomfort. So I have this tattoo that says seek discomfort, and that's been something that it's in mirror image. So when I look at it, like before I take a shower or whatever in the morning, I have to see that motto or that slogan or whatever every morning, and it's just been something to remind me of, like, you know, the value that comes from getting out of your comfort zone. And that's something that I think I've been living up to, particularly over the past week or two, more than, or maybe the past month more than I have ever at any other period in my life.
So because they don't know what Yes Theory is. So right. So talk just real quick. Just what is Yes Theory, like what it's kind of helped you with, or like what are they about? You know? Yeah.
So Yes Theory is a group of guys on YouTube, and they make some of the coolest, most inspiring content, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like hiking through the jungle to climb to the highest pyramid in the world, which is not actually the pyramids of Giza. There's some in some jungle in Central or South America.
That's awesome. That's goals. I would do that.
And yeah, like going on like a 10-day venture, like, you know, out in the jungle.
That's awesome.
They've done stuff with Wim Hof, which he's been another guy that's really inspired me in terms of seeking discomfort and just like putting myself out in the cold. And that's been my main form of discomfort over the past little while, is because I feel like I've spent a lot of time, or I know this, when it started to get cold, I would walk outside and I would just be pissed off. I was like, why is it cold? Like, I hate the cold so much. And now I've like grown since then, just since, you know, October or whatever, or November, to being able to, I still hate the cold, but like I've been consistently putting myself out there. The first time that I really sort of embraced this seeking of discomfort was we had a snowstorm, I don't know, a couple weeks back or maybe a month back, something like that. And I was showing my dad Wim Hof, and I actually showed him, we sat down in the living room, and I put on the video of Wim Hof and Yes Theory. And after it was over, my dad was like, oh, you should go snow blow for me out on the walk. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out there in shorts, and I'm going to do it shirtless, and I'm going to shovel it. So I went out there, it was like 10 o'clock at night or something like that in the snowstorm, and just shoveled for, I don't even know how long, 45 minutes or an hour, just shirtless in shorts in a snowstorm. And I came back inside, and I was like, damn, that was cool.
And we should have started with this, but we ran, it was a little over 3 miles. A little over 3 miles today, and as of today, it's the 7th? I think it's the 7th of February, and it is very much snowing outside. Yes. I think it was about like 31 degrees, which isn't the coldest that either of us have. I think last time I ran it, when on that Sunday when we went out, it was like 20 something. But we ran a few miles there, and Drake here was just having a hard time with his shin, but he pushed through, which is great. But that's the whole seek discomfort thing. And so what about like the benefits of this? Because it's just like, I guess not just putting yourself through misery. It's like what's on the other side, you know, like what that means for you.
Right. I would honestly say it's like one of the most important factors of seeking discomfort is making those memories. So I don't remember every other night in December or whatever when I just went to bed and I just like was cozy and warm and whatever, but I remember that night when I was out for an hour shirtless in a snowstorm shoveling, you know, I'm going to remember that for a long time, because that's something that's sort of an extreme action that my family was like, dude, why are you doing this? And that was like a one-time thing though. And so what I've been focusing on the past little while is taking that from a one-time occurrence and making that every day, like going out and pushing myself like that every day. And the way that I've gone about that is just going out and running 5 miles every morning. Or some mornings, like it's been particularly snowy the past week, so I will like look on the radar or the forecast or whatever, and I'll wait and I'll be like, okay, it's gonna snow at 10 o'clock, so I'll wait until the snow starts and then I'll go out on a run. So like the first run I went on was I was wearing sweatshirt and sweatpants, and I was like, it was still cold, like it was very cold and very windy, and it was hard to breathe and whatever just because of how windy and cold it was, and I got done with that and I was like, wow, that was so cool. I really like pushed myself there. And the next morning I was up at 4 and I was reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, which I'm sure is something we might get into here, and I was reading about the SEAL training, and I was like, yo, I should go and I should run this morning. I should run shirtless in shorts, and I was like, no, that's nuts. And I went out and I was able to do it, and that was like one of the most painful runs I've ever been on, because it was 9 degrees.
9 degrees?
Yeah, it was like wind. 21 with a wind chill. It feels like 9.
Oh, it feels like 9. Okay, yeah, dude.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
But then I finished it, and it's like after that you're home, and like a half an hour later you're warmed up, like sit by the fire, go take a hot shower, and it's like you're good. And you've sort of like pushed yourself for the day, and you've made that memory. I remember the one day I was running in the snowstorm, and I was running on the sidewalk by some guy who was like pushing his kid in a stroller, and he just pulled out his phone and he like took a video of me, and he was like, oh, it's a wild animal and stuff like that. It's just interesting. Like,
yeah.
It's I mean, it's definitely like an ego boost, you know, if you're out there freezing your butt off, it's like whatever, you're in a snowstorm running, and your body is literally covered in like melting snow. Like you know, you get bright red like when you come back inside because you heat up and just because of how cold you are. Absolutely. From the snow, and like getting little boosts like that, or people honking at you, or just being like,
or just staring.
Yeah.
Like when we were out, definitely noticed a few people just being like, the hell? What is going on over there? These two guys are running in snow.
Yeah.
Shirtless, and like the one like it's just funny to see the comparison of like a woman out with her dog, and she's like in the full snow get up, and we're just like, how's it going? And shirtless, you know.
And the funny thing is that it's not that bad.
Yeah, true, very true.
It's really not.
I think the mental obstacle. When I did the first one, when I did that first, I think it was last Sunday. I was out there, and I realized that the first initial, when you go out, it's like, oh my gosh, like in like your my shoulders would tense up, and I was like, okay, gotta relax, gotta breathe, you know. But I've always kind of liked the cold, you know. Like I very regularly sleep with like my window open when it's cold, and I just very much prefer that, especially sleeping like that. I just sleep so much better when, I mean, granted, it's not like 20s, but I definitely sleep with my room colder. So I don't necessarily think that this is like, I don't know. I mean, like I'll definitely do it because it's fun, you know. But for me, I would rather run in the snow than run on a hot day. Personally, it's a lot more uncomfortable for me to run when it's super, super hot. Right. I hate being super hot. That's like, so I'm like the opposite of like my dad, for instance. My dad hates the cold so much. So I was kind of thinking.
That's how I am. I just despise the cold, and I'm always trying to run from it. So then I've just been like,
there you go.
I'm gonna run in it.
Yeah, that's great. You know, facing it, and but there's also, I mean, even with the cold specifically, and this isn't what this video is about, but there's a number of benefits to that. Like people take the cold plunge and stuff, and it's largely mental. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was I forget what book I was reading, but they talk about like putting an ice pack on your lower neck area, because that's kind of like around the area where you start to like regulate some of your temperature, and then that can cause your body to kind of go into that state where it's like trying to regulate your temperature a lot more, and that burns a lot of calories. So that's why something that was really famous, or something that was very publicized that came out was a famous swimmer, Michael Phelps. There we go. He was eating like 20,000 calories a day or something like that. But it's because you wick body temperature like 24 times faster when you're in the water and it's cold, right? Then that's the water, but so it's different. But it's just like that's the whole thing of there's a lot of benefits to that, which is cool. So.
And also, there's a lot of potential to build respect for yourself.
Oh yeah.
With doing stuff like this, because you don't always need to be super hard on yourself, but when you are, like if you say you're going to do something and you back out and you come up with an excuse, even if you think it's a good excuse, you still know you're coming up with an excuse to not do something. And so like the past 2 days I've done, I've ran on the elliptical because I ended up getting some pretty bad shin issues. So like when we went out running today, it was seriously painful.
Yeah.
And that's something where I've been trying to balance, like I'm trying to seek temporary discomfort, not trying to seek injury.
Yeah. So there's a difference. There's a clear difference there.
Difference.
It's not like you're not intentionally harming yourself.
No,
it's an important distinction that that this is something that you can get progress from it, right? So like running in the snow, for instance, like you're mentally hardening yourself, but you're also getting rid of all like the BS, like, oh man, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm not feeling like it, or like, oh man, like my feet are kind of sore, or like I just kind of woke up and I was really tired, man, like maybe I'll do it later. So like these different excuses. And this is something that Jay Shetty talks about. Do you know Jay Shetty?
You've talked about him a little bit.
Yeah, so I think Jay Shetty, something that he talks about is you need to find how your mind tricks you, right? And so like for me, for instance, I know there's this one it's a small example, but it's also I think very relatable. I was on my way home from the gym and this was back when I was eating a lot of Burger King because I was trying to gain weight, and obviously that works, to just eat more Burger King. But then I was trying to break off of that because I was feeling like crap, but I still had this habit of going to Burger King after every single workout, pretty much. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go to Burger this time. I have food at home. I'm gonna go make that. And then something happened. I forget exactly what it was, but I don't know if it was cold or something. Like maybe I forgot my gloves. It was something stupid. Something uncomfortable happened. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go get Burger King. But that's kind of an example of that. How your mind tricks you. It's like, okay, so this means that I get to go have that, right?
Yeah.
It's been a similar thing with video games in the past. Of like, okay, I'm unplugging my computer, or like I'm not gonna play video games until I get this stuff done. And then something happens, like something falls through at work, or I have like a run-in with someone, and they're mad at me for something, I don't know. But then I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess this means I play video games now. So, but the whole point is that your mind tricks you into kind of giving up and staying within your comfort zone, which is the biggest thing. Of it's like your mind doesn't want to be uncomfortable. Your mind is always trying to figure out how to get back to that comfort zone, so you got to take control of that. And so this like whole running in the snow, and it doesn't have to be running in the snow, but it's the whole idea of, is it David Goggins that says do something that sucks every day, or is that someone else?
He shares that sentiment.
Yeah.
Says that
Exactly. So, but a lot of different people that are very high performers talk about that and developing this discipline. And I think that there's definitely a lot of merit to it. And I mean, you've seen progress with yourself in it. And I know that myself in the past, although I'm not running in the snow every day, that when I am pushing myself outside my comfort zone, that's when I've made the most memories. Like you said, I've made the most progress. I've been the happiest as well, right? Because progress is part of happiness, And so it's just a lot of really, really beneficial things to the whole seek discomfort type thing, which is why you have it tattooed on yourself.
Yeah,
it's an important thing.
A great reminder, and it's something that I was like, I don't want to be able to ignore this. Like it was this very powerful phrase that I got just from watching this video, because I was in Florida with my friends. They had to work that day, and I was like, crap, my thing got canceled. What am I gonna do? And I just instinctually pulled out my phone and just went to watch a YouTube video, because it was storming outside, and it was cold.
Yeah.
The cold front had just come in. It was like, wow, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I saw this video, and I was like, seek discomfort. I was like, damn. I was like, if I could be reminded of that every day and live with that every day, I would probably improve a lot. And I honestly didn't embody it until recently. And I'd say the biggest mental jump for me is I feel like a lot of times with my habits, I get really excited about them. But once that excitement goes away, once you're not excited about your new habit anymore, it's super easy to find an excuse not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, after like 2 days of running out in the cold, I was like, I got up the third day and I did not want to go out. I was like looking for any sort of excuse in my head to not go out. And I knew that I couldn't do that to myself because I'd made this commitment and I'd really made it sort of a deeper commitment than I had beforehand. And so I went out, and then the next day I woke up and I was like looking for that excuse again. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I just continued to do that until I've actually gotten to a point with my sort of injuring my shin, which actually has been, so I didn't run for the past 2 days. I went on the elliptical, and that was like not the same. I feel bad for myself because I'm like, I need to be out running. So I went out last night and I went out on a long walk just in the cold, and that was nice, but it's like I've been itching to get back out running, and we went today, but it's like I don't know how that's going to affect my healing process of whatever the heck I've done to my shin. I don't know if it's shin splints or something else, but I have this like, compression thing on it, and it's really cool to feel bad about skipping out on something that makes you feel bad. I've always found comfort in finding that excuse. Like when am I gonna have like the scapegoats that I don't have to like do this thing anymore?
Yeah.
And now I feel like that's kind of gone away in some respect, which is pretty powerful.
Something that I think is a really great practice for figuring out when you're BSing yourself. This is something that Tony Robbins talks about, but he says, what do you want to do? Say, I want to do this, but, so say, I want to work on this project, or I want to study, or I want to build this business, or I'm going to build this business, but the reason I haven't is whatever follows that is, well, I don't have the resources, I don't have the money, or maybe like I'm not smart enough, or, all these things. So we tell ourselves these stories, right? And then they kind of develop these roadblocks. And then we just tell ourselves this over and over again. And then whenever we get motivated and we're going to go try and do it, then we tell ourselves a story, which is total BS, because it's not a matter of having the resources, it's a matter of resourcefulness and pushing past it.
You know that you're BSing yourself, and that's the thing. Even if it's sort of like subconscious, and you lose that self-respect, and that's what I feel like I've had a lack of for the past while is just like self-respect, because I knew that I wasn't pushing myself to the level that I should be pushing myself.
Well, I think I might disagree partially, but because I don't think that everyone knows that they're BSing themselves. I think that they get the like, oh man, like they feel bad as if so like if I say I am BSing myself, I feel bad, but I know consciously what's going on in my head, but if no one knows like a contradicting idea of, well, I can't do it because I'm not smart enough, or I can't study for this test, or I can't get an A, or I can't get whatever the grade you want is, because of whatever reason, and they don't know, a better alternative, then that's just the story that they tell themselves, And so if you feel like you can't push forward for any reason, or for a particular reason, like, if you can't run because it's cold outside,
right.
Well, that's just you don't know a different possibility. I feel like we have that insider kind of knowledge just because of like the books that we've read or the experiences we've had. But I think it's important for people to know that they are BSing themselves, every time they do that.
I instantly can tell, like, if I come up with an excuse to, like cheat on my diet or something like that, I'll come up with an excuse that sounds good in my head, but I lose respect for myself in that, because I know that I'm like letting myself down, or letting myself down on a commitment I made to myself. Which I guess I've never really thought about it from a perspective of maybe that's not how it is for everyone, but for me it's very much like that. Like it makes it hard, and it makes me feel bad about myself because I'm breaking on a habit unintentionally. See, when you like set aside a cheat day, or you say, hey, I'm not gonna run on Sundays, then when you don't run on Sundays, it's fine, because you said you weren't gonna run on Sundays, or you were gonna be able to eat whatever you want on Friday nights or however it is. You don't feel bad about that, or I don't feel bad about that. But it's when it's Wednesday night and you're tired and you're just like, oh, you know, I don't even know why I was trying to build that habit. Like I'll just skip on it for tonight.
So David Goggins talks about, right? He takes days off, but he doesn't take like random days off. You know? He was not like, oh, well, I'm not feeling it today, so I'm just not gonna, like, it's like he takes recovery days. I forget how he words it, but he doesn't take I don't know. He likes one of the phrases that he uses. He's like, well, I woke up this morning with a real poo-poo attitude. Oh my god, no, poopy pants. He says a real poopy pants attitude. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you follow his stories on like Instagram or YouTube.
Yeah, I do a little bit.
But yeah, he talks about that. It's cool because this is a little bit of a tangent, but I like when he talks about him still having bad days, because it can seem sometimes that these people that are super high performers, like they're invincible, you know, like David Goggins, because he's done so. And we talked about this a little bit before we started, but how it's kind of unrelatable.
He's done 7,000 some pull-ups in 24 hours.
Yeah, which is like, disgusting.
What?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Or,
absolutely nuts.
He did 100-mile races every weekend for 8 weekends in a row.
It's disgusting. And some people can't like even. They're like, oh yeah, 100 miles, or maybe like you can't even like comprehend that. Maybe
I cannot comprehend running 100 miles 8 weeks in a row.
Yeah, so just what that does to your body, like you need to recover not in days or maybe even weeks, but like months. You know, you need to really, really just recover. Like you were just sidelined for a significant period of time after that. I haven't done it myself, but I've seen people do those things, and just seeing it take a toll on their body it's really, really ridiculous. So just the idea of him doing one a week for 8 weeks, it's just absolutely nuts.
But it's hard to relate when you see someone like that, and like I sort of he's the guy that inspired me to get out every morning and run, because I saw him and I was like, wow, like what if I had that amount of mental strength? And so that's what I've sort of made my entire focus for the year, aside from individual goals, is just building mental toughness to where when I say I'm going to do something, I just do it. And also breaking through like I don't really feel like it, which I think is something that, you know, we talked about before. Everybody deals with this when it's like I deal with it too, and it's something I've been trying to beat, especially recently. Yeah. But like, because I've been doing polyphasic sleeping and stuff like that, and it's hard.
Yeah, he's been you've yawned twice now, so you're still pushing through that.
Sleepy, yeah.
Little sleepy, exactly.
And that's difficult when you go to bed at 1 and you wake up at 4 in the morning, and you're like, all right, time to go. Great. Like I don't feel like that at all. And like this morning, I messed up because I got up and I actually slept through for the first time. I set it like a really super loud alarm.
You slept through it?
I slept through it. It went for like 3 minutes, and it woke my stepmom up, and she was on the way up to my room to like knock on my door, so I'm all the way up on the top floor. Yeah. Everyone else sleeps on the middle floor, and I had this alarm woke my stepmom up, and it didn't wake me up because of how tired I was. Damn. And she was on her way up the stairs when I shut it off, but I slept through like 3 minutes of it. Which is really weird because I had explained to Josh earlier in the week. I was like, this alarm is great. I was like, the moment it starts, I like freak out and I like shoot up out of bed and I have to run across the room to turn it off because it's so loud.
Which is what I've been doing. That's the same tactic that I use to make sure I get up out of bed.
But yeah, I slept through it for 3 minutes.
That's nuts. That's so nuts. That's crazy.
It was awful. And I woke up and I was like, oh, I should just lay down for like a little bit more, and then I slept for another hour, which still is like 4 hours. But like it's been a struggle, especially with the polyphasic sleeping, to like really kick the butt of the I don't feel like it reaction to things.
Absolutely.
And that's just something in general that I've been trying to deal with. You know, when it's I don't know. There's just all kinds of things that like come up throughout the day when it's like I should really do this, but I don't really feel like it, so I'll just keep doing whatever I'm doing. And that's something that I deal with a lot. I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah, absolutely. I do too.
To when I catch myself doing that, being like, hey, And it was funny because this morning I got up, right? And I looked at my bed and I was like, I should just make my bed right now. And I should just make my bed and I should just go downstairs and like make a cup of coffee or do something. And I was like, I could just lay down for like just a little bit. And I was like, no, you're not doing that. I was like, just make your bed and get up and like go downstairs or do something. And I was like, you're not going to do this. I was like, don't fall into I don't feel like it. And before I knew it, I woke up, it was like an hour later and I was like, shit.
Yeah,
that messes up the schedule. It's not good.
Getting in your head
right now.
Getting in your head, man, when you're in that weaker state like that is just it's such a disaster story like waiting to happen, because it's just so difficult to reason with yourself or like motivate you, because like I think we've all had those times when you're like, okay, you're gonna get out of bed now, and I'm like, why am I not moving? you know, and so it's like your body doesn't work that way, you know, and so you need to train your mind and train your body to, like, when you say go, you go. Yeah. And it's not just that you say go. It's like that. It's like you feel that coming up. Like that's you. You are not someone that snoozes the alarm. You are not someone that cheats on your meal or takes impromptu rest days. You are someone that when it's time to go and it's time to perform or it's time to do whatever, then that's what you do. Yeah. You know, and so it's a training of that, you know. And so although we all have that part of us that tries to talk us out and tries to say, yeah, you don't need to do that, or maybe it's self-doubt for people, you know. It might come in a form of, maybe it's appealing to your maybe either laziness, or maybe it's like, oh man, you don't need to do that today, or maybe it's like, yeah, but that person's going to think a certain way about you. And so, you know, it might look differently for different people, but breaking out of that, I think, is just a really big transformational step for anyone. And one of the stories that a lot of people tell about, there's a lot of different, whether it's people in motivational or in different books. Dean Graziosi is the person that comes to mind, but he talks about how it's like this old story of like this Indian grandmother talking to one of the kids. She talks about how there's two wolves inside everyone, and they're both fighting for resources essentially. And one wolf is the self-doubt, someone that's kind of holding you back, comfort zone, kind of like poo-poo pants attitude type thing. And I'm just using David Goggins' words, it's funny to say, but that's one wolf. And then the other wolf is like, no, you pull the trigger, you go. And the achiever, you're gonna go after your dreams, whatever that is, so that's that wolf. Right. And then the daughter or the grandchild is like, well, who wins, and then the grandmother says, the one you feed the most. And it's about training yourself. It's about feeding the right wolf, so that in the end, your mindset is not one that is going to hold you back. That your mindset is one that's going to do you a favor and say, right, no, I don't care if I've only gotten 2 hours of sleep. I have stuff to do today. I'm getting up now. Yeah. And you feel that in your body, and it's just because it's like that's who you are at that point.
And now this is not to promote unhealthy sleep habits. So
yeah. That's
it's like a structured, somewhat researched, a little bit.
Well, no, it's researched, like, and there's people. It's sustainable for 6 months.
But there's not much long-term studies because it's very hard to maintain for a long period of time. But that's mostly because of just the life and stuff gets in the way. But it's funny though, because when I cheat or when I decide, I'll just sleep a little bit longer, that's when I get tired.
Yeah. Dude, same.
It throws off your whole
circadian rhythm, man. Yeah. It gets to you.
And I also like if I oversleep or something, I'll wake up with a headache, and it's bad. Like I need to get up, and I don't know why, but I know that it's good for me. Like if I get up right when I'm supposed to, it's like I've been sleeping for 3 hours, but it's time. I'll feel great, And if I take my naps throughout the rest of the day, I'll feel great throughout the day. But if I'm just like just like a little bit longer, and then I'll fall asleep. I'll wake up 2 hours later, and I have a really bad headache, and I feel crappy, and it's just like that's what throws off the day is giving myself that leeway that I think I need. But really I don't.
Yeah. So that's one way that your mind tricks yourself. For instance, like it's appealing to a certain part of you. It's like, hey, this is like this is what you want to do, right?
And it's easily justifiable because I'm like, oh my gosh, I only slept 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's crazy. I should just sleep a little bit more, right? Like, I only did 3 hours. But based on the schedule that I'm trying to work with, that's all I'm supposed to have anyways.
So have there been instances where you feel that self-doubt, or maybe not self-doubt, but you're convincing yourself to not do what you need to do? Have you been able to have those thoughts and then break out of it?
Oh, absolutely, because that's like every day. When
exactly.
I'm
so
like,
what?
I slept 3 hours. Like, I do not want to be up right
So
now.
if you were to walk someone through it, if someone was said, hey man, like I've been trying, to get up consistently, but I can just not peel myself out of bed, what advice would you give them? Because I think this is something that's can benefit a lot of people.
Yeah. Sorry, all this yawning is gonna make it seem like this isn't a good thing to do, but it's only because I overslept this morning.
And I can attest to that because I've seen him on many other days when he hasn't overslept.
Yeah. That's a hard one because it really does it does vary so much based on just like it's like these like what the butterfly flaps its wings and whatever and
Butterfly effect, yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
and there's a hurricane in some other place. Like it's like the smallest little input has an effect however many years later in a different place. Like everything matters.
Yeah. So it's hard to explain which days work and which days don't, and more days work than don't work. But I think it's so up to chance, but it's like pushing yourself consistently every morning, and it's like some mornings you're gonna fall through, but if you keep pushing yourself, then you're gonna keep building up that success rate of mornings that you you're successful. I guess that's all it would really be, because there's not any distinct characteristic between yesterday morning when I got up when I was supposed to versus today when I got up and then I was like, because I had this full on like battle in my head, because I was like approaching my bed and I was like, I'm just gonna make my bed and then I'm gonna go downstairs, and then I was like, oh, it's really warm though. And I was like,
oh no!
I was like, I'll just climb under my sheets for just like 5 minutes.
No.
And then I was like, no, you're not gonna do this. You're making the bed and you're gonna go downstairs and you're gonna make some tea or some coffee. And I was like, no, just for a little bit. Like it's so soft. And I was like, I'm just gonna make my bed. I was like, but before I'll just lay down. And I was like, no, if you lay down, you're just gonna fall asleep. And I don't know where the critical decision point was where I ended up falling asleep.
I have two things for that. So, what do you think? I don't know if you can remember, but think to a time when you woke up and you lost that battle. Do you remember maybe how you felt or what you were thinking about the night before, or I shouldn't say night before, the 3 hours prior before you fell asleep?
Yes. It does help to really have something that you have sorry, I'm all over the place, but
You're fine.
When you have like a set plan for what you're gonna do in the morning,
absolutely.
And it's still today I had a set plan for what I was gonna do and it didn't work. It was this whole funny mental battle, but I'm glad that I had that battle, because I feel like a lot of times in the past, not with necessarily the polyphasic sleeping, but with any other habit or whatever, it's so easy to excuse myself. Whereas it was a full on like back and forth, like get up, like don't don't do it. And I lost the battle this morning, but I've had that battle every morning and usually I win it. And so that's been nice. I guess being self-aware and being able to battle with yourself, and honestly you're not probably going to win every time. But as long as you're conscious and aware of that battle and you fuel it rather than just being like, because I think there has been a morning where I woke up and I was just like, this is nuts. I'm going to bed. And I didn't even have the energy to argue with myself. I was just like,
I got you.
I was like, why am I up at 4 a.m? I'm going to bed. And it was just like that quick decision. I turned off my alarm and I just went right back to bed. I didn't think about it. But today it was like the full battle. I lost the battle, but still,
there's a guy named oh my goodness, I don't know his last name, but pretty controversial guy. I think his first name is Russell. Not that it helps anyone trying to find him, But he talks about addiction and how like people relapsing, and people ask him all the time of like, how do you resist?
Does he have a podcast?
I think he does.
Is it Russell Brand? Long-haired actor?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Russell Brand.
He talks about addiction, right? And I was gonna say Russell Branson, but that's a different person, obviously. So he talks about addiction, and he talks about how when you have that sort of, he calls it temptation, which I think is a particular stigma to it, but he talks about having those thoughts, and so the question is, how do you resist that?
Right.
And his answer is that, well, the battle starts a lot sooner than you think it does. And so losing out, thinking the night before, thinking, oh man, I feel like crap, like I wouldn't be surprised if I just slept in tomorrow, or just things like that. Or maybe you're visualizing it. Maybe you're thinking like, oh, it's like, it would be so nice to just sleep in for once, like this has just been a crazy sleep schedule. I'm pertaining this to you, but also this is for everyone, because I've done this. Right. I've done this myself, where I realized, oh my goodness, like the times when I lose that battle, for instance. Now my sleep schedule is different than you, right. But it's still. I mean, even if whether you're sleeping 8 hours or your schedule or my schedule, then you're gonna have those times when you don't feel like getting up, and. Navy SEAL, oh my goodness, Jocko Willink talks about how even he doesn't feel like getting up at least 50% of the time, so it's that training. But the idea of the battle starting sooner is that whole being intentional about the thoughts when you are going to bed. Like, okay, where's my mental state now? Because that's going to have a significant impact, at least in personal experience, as well as these books, these other books, like Russell Brand talks about that, Jocko talks about that, and starting it early, right? Because it's just by the time you're experiencing that temptation or those thoughts, it's already, you're deep into the battle. It's like exactly. The other thing that has really helped me a lot is kind of on the topic of like the two wolves type thing, is that we have kind of these different states that we're in, and one side of you is arguing to go back to sleep, while right. The other side is arguing, no, I need to get up and do this thing, right? And there's other ones as well, but naming those of, okay, what nickname would you give to that person, that part of you that is complaining and being like, oh man, I want to go back. Lazy little bitch, exactly. And then what would you name yourself? What would you name the side of you that would be the other side that would say, like, no, I got to get up. This is what I got to do. Like, this is the game plan.
That's Drake.
Drake, exactly.
That's Josh.
Exactly.
So but really, though, that should be who you are. You are the guy that gets up. And I don't want the one concern I had, because I made a post on Instagram about this the first day after I did a shirtless run, and I talked about how sort of the struggles that I've been dealing with forming habits and my mental attitude towards it, and like seeking that discomfort and whatever. And I was kind of worried that some people were gonna like mistake that for some sort of toxic masculinity or something like that. Because that is a criticism that goes out to people like David Goggins. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, it is not toxic masculinity. It's just like this man has had an incredibly difficult life, for real, and fought for everything that he has, and he has built up that mental strength. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're a girl or you're a dude. Like, if you can build that amount of mental strength, you're going to be a lot better off than most people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's not like like the words that he uses for himself is like being hard, being like the toughest man in the room, like those types of things, those motivators for him. Like that's great, but he also, like, what you get out of that, for instance, like pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, that's important for everyone. So not everyone not everyone's gonna be motivated by the things that he says to himself.
Yeah.
But the idea of what you get out of it, that is something that can benefit everyone, because we all have our particular standards, and I'd say that the vast majority of us want more than what our current standards are, right? And we're trying to get out of that, but every time we end up back right where what we're comfortable with, then we're disappointed with ourselves. We're like, oh man, I never should have tried that, And
to describe what more might be.
Yeah, be specific, exactly.
Not necessarily like this idea of, oh, we need more things or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's more in a lot of other ways, more love in your life, or more knowledge, or I don't know what it would be for you, but
absolutely. And so so for me, it would be like more connection with people, like more impact for other people, because that's been like my absolute kick since I had my most recent just absolute breakthrough. And it's been really, really pivotal for me switching from, kind of like the 18-year-old entrepreneurship mindset where I'm like, I got to get $1 billion and drive a Lamborghini and all these things.
Best video. There's this guy on YouTube, and he has a video called "Guys with Entrepreneur in Their Bio."
Oh no!
Have you seen it?
I think I have.
It's so funny.
Oh no!
And it's really like it's like the hustler grinder.
Yeah.
Not grinder. Like the hustle culture or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a really funny video. So I forget what his name is, but yeah, guys with entrepreneur in their bio.
That's awesome.
That's
you can probably video. Google it. You can probably find it. That's great though. But I mean, it really is. And I think like the certain age group kind of very much is susceptible to that, because I know when I first read that, I don't want to stray too much, but when I first read the 10X book. Yeah. And it really was great, but at the same time, like, it's also a little bit cringe looking back. But anyways, the shift though is going from that, which is very much like thinking of the accolades, thinking of the, how people are going to look at me. Also just like, but I mean, how I framed it back then was like, I'm going to be able to be like motivational for people by being an example, like I wanted to be a great leader and all these different things. And so now it's just so much more like what I can do for people, and that's so much more motivational for me, because like it has so much more emotion to it, and it's although resources are a big part of doing things on a bigger scale, no question about it, and it's you need to have those skills. Financial resources, exactly. But that's not the end goal though. A perfect example of this, and it's tragic, but I'm always blanking on names. I've been not great with names, but the guy who played Genie in the original Aladdin, super famous comedian. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe. I almost want to grab my phone and look this guy up.
Describe him. What was he in?
Yeah, he was in the original Aladdin movie as Genie, but he was also Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know if you've seen Robin Williams. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams, for instance, incredibly funny person, had a great impact on people, had like a lot of accolades, money, everything, but he was broken on the inside, and he ended up hanging himself in his own house. So like it's just such a tragic example of like just making it and having success, but not being abundant in what actually matters,
right?
Which is like having the connection, having the love and the contribution to people and different things like that. And so that's an example of it's really can be a trap to always be thinking about the money and not sort of what you can do with that money, or what the actually important things in life.
Right.
Not to mention that having impact can also be a very good focus for getting you the resources, because like Tony Robbins always talks about, is like business is more so a game of who can do the most for someone, right? And that being very much rewarded in the marketplace.
So sort of playing off of all this stuff, I think that one of the biggest things that's been holding me back, sort of the danger of being comfortable and the mindset shift that I think has helped me. Like, I'm not running anymore. I'm not running to be in shape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running to push myself further mentally. And that has been a huge shift because of the fact that I think for those of us who are pretty comfortable with ourselves, like, I'm comfortable with my body, I'm comfortable with my level of intelligence, I'm comfortable with a lot of things. I don't have that like rock bottom, and I don't want to have to get there like in order to make a true like revolutionary shift in my mindset, because it's not motivating enough if I'm like, I want to be in better shape, but then I'm like, I gotta run today, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm not overweight, like honestly, I don't know what I'm complaining about. Honestly, I don't really need to run because I don't need to be in better shape. I'm fine. And then I won't run, or I won't go to the gym or whatever. And it's that danger of the fact that I'm comfortable enough that there's not a huge push to break out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So now the push is mental, and the reward is mental and physical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's like a bit of a mindset shift that I've had over the past couple of weeks. That has been very beneficial in terms of the goal is no longer to like make marginal improvements because I'm not in a low enough point in my life in any particular direction I'm not at rock bottom, and I don't want to have to get to rock bottom.
Absolutely.
Because that's where like you see someone like David Goggins coming from just a terrible life situation, terrible misfortune and everything, and it's like he had to fight to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to fight. Like I could just be comfortable if I wanted to. I could find like a comfortable career path and job and go go get a degree and then get a nice cushy job or whatever. I'm smart enough. Maybe I could be an engineer or something like that and just coast and live a comfortable life.
Mm-hmm.
Not that being an engineer is coasting. That's a cool profession.
Well, you could coast while being an engineer. You
could coast while doing anything. But yeah, because I haven't and I don't want to ever have that like rock bottom moment where I'm like, how it literally can't get any worse. I don't want to have that. So that's where like the mental toughness comes into play. And that's something I think that a lot of people could use because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in the same position as me.
Yeah. Something that's helped me a lot is something that you said before is kind of you found what you wanted of you want a better physique or whatever that was, and then when it came to actually doing it, then it was like, well, you're comfortable with how you look.
Yeah.
Right. And so you kind of did what do you want? And then you skipped to what do I need to do?
Yeah.
But something that Tony Robbins talks about, and this is his plan that I've been using for myself, and it's helped me a lot. It's called RPM, but essentially it boils down to 3 questions of what do I want? Why do I want it? And what do I need to do to accomplish that, or how do I get it, right? And the why do I want it is incredibly important because if you don't have the emotional side of it, if you don't have like what does this mean for me and being very specific. So you want to be specific about what you want, right? Because if it's general, then you're going to end up getting comfortable and then moving the bar down. So you need to be
sexy.
Yeah, exactly. You could say that. You could say that. So you could say, and then whatever that is for you. And some people use like a vision board where they have like a picture up of like kind of what they want to look like. Or it's not just with looks, it's with literally everything, right? And so you have specifically what you want, and then you have why do you want it? You want to also be very, very specific and be broad with this as well and say, how is this going to affect my social life? How is this going to affect, like I'm going to be more confident if I look better. I'm going to feel better because I'm going to be more fit. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to be more, so, the list goes on. And you think about those things and with the specific, what that looks like for you. And then you move on to, okay, now how do I accomplish this? Because if, like, once again, the reiteration is warranted. If you're not specific, if you're general on it, then whenever you're feeling comfortable or whenever you're feeling not motivated, which is going to be most of the time, you're not motivated all the time, then you're going to move that bar down to whatever the lowest point in that generalization is, right? If you say, I want to look better, be like, well, I could do like 2 push-ups, or do I really even need to look better? Like, what does it even mean?
That's what my goal has been. It's just like, I don't want to be like super jacked. I don't like that. Like I'm already pretty short. I don't want to be like my width is half my height or something like that.
Exactly.
There's definitely maybe some compensation going on there with some guys I see at the gym. But that's not what I want. I'm like, that's not even practical. Good luck having run around in the woods or climb a tree if you're like built like that.
But realistically, you're not going to get like that by eating if you're not like force feeding yourself and work training extremely hard, you're not going to get like that. You're not going to accidentally get jacked. So if you tell yourself that story of saying, hey, I want to work out, but I also don't want to get jacked. So like, do I really want to work out harder? Yeah. Or do I really want to eat better if I'm going to, I'm making some of this stuff up. I'm not saying that this is for you, but what I am saying is that, we kind of tell ourselves these things and then it results in us not executing,
There's also a lot of funny mental games. I don't know if you experience anything like this, but I definitely do.
Probably.
Like if I do really good in a day, right? If I go out and I run in the morning.
I can take tomorrow off now.
No. So
I've had that thought before.
I probably have too, but that's not exactly where I was going with this. I'll go and I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, wow, dude, you're looking good today, right? And then say it's a week later, and I look exactly the same, right? But I cheat on my diet a little bit, and I decide not to go to the gym, and I look in the mirror, I'm like, dude, you need to shape up, you know? But I know that I look identical. Like, there's no difference in how I looked 5 days ago versus how I look now.
Yeah.
But there's a huge mental shift because one day I was proud of how I acted and how I executed, and then, 5 days later I didn't do so well. And so then when I look in the mirror, I'm like, you gotta get your shit together, man. Like, you're gaining some weight or something. I mean, not really. Like, I don't think I have that much to worry about. But
and I don't know if this actually explains that, but when we are in a different state, then we also have our physiology mirrors that. So if we're sad and depressed, then our shoulders are slumped. We're going to be breathing shallowly. We're going to be like our facial expression is going to be congruent with that emotional state. When we're super motivated, our shoulders are going to be back. We're going to be confident. Our head's going to be up. We're going to be focused. We're going to have that that look in our eyes that like we're going to tackle it. And you look in the mirror and be like, damn it, I'm going to do it. Like I'm the guy.
Right.
But then when you're down, defeated, you have a bad day, even just a small shift in your physiology, you're like, I look less attractive today. It's like, well, you do because you're carrying yourself poorly.
Right.
And so it's just kind of that's kind of like my thought with that is that's what makes sense. But I get what you're saying with the whole self-respect and kind of like, I think do you say pride? Like being like proud of yourself?
Yes, I think in some form or another.
I get what you mean though.
And it's not that you definitely don't have to be where you want to be in order to have that. Mm-hmm. It's that that you're doing the best you can in order to get there.
Yeah, it's the progress of it.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important. And I think we talked about this is like it's so funny our different like contexts and approaches. Because I was about to talk about like the neurochemical side of things, but that's just like kind of like what I funnel things through.
Right.
Is I'm like trying to think of like the scientific reasons for like what's going on in your head, so you can like more consistently reproduce that, right? Because you understand it on like the most base level. But anyway, so like on the neurochemical side of things is like if you're really hungry and you see food off in the distance, right? Then you get that initial dopamine response. But it's not just you see it, you feel good, and then you get it, eat it, and feel good. It's along the way you'll get incremental amounts of dopamine as a response in progression and in pursuit of that, right? It's the same thing with your goals, that when you're specific and you know what you're working towards and you have that measurable progress, you will get more motivated, right? That momentum is real, and it's not that it's just like, oh, that works for some people. Like this is biochemically engineered into us, like this is a part of us. So like having that goal, being specific, knowing why you want it, and then knowing what you need to do it, executing, and then having that measurable progress can help you so much with momentum, and not just with momentum getting stuff done, but having a better quality of life. Because it's not just about being successful in, it's about having, it's about being, happy. Exactly. Yeah. Having a life that you want, not feeling like crap all day, like no one wants to feel like crap all day. And the good news is you don't have to.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to hear that.
But it does take, just to like being happy takes effort.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't.
Which I think is a misconception that I maybe even had in my own head, is that like, being happy is like being comfortable. Like, no, it's not.
No.
Not at all. Like, if you retire and you just buy a beach house and you sit out in the sun every day drinking margaritas or something, like you're not gonna. That might be cool for.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a million people have used that example, but that might be cool for. I don't know how long I'd want to do that for. Like 2 hours, and then I'd be like, all right, what's next?
Yeah, and I mean, it could be like some people might say. Well, my argument for that is like, well, you could be sitting on the beach drinking margaritas, but then like diving deep on your spiritual aspect,
right?
So it's important, like the progress in general. If you're sitting there like, well, I'm happy, well, you're almost definitely making progress on something. If you're really fulfilled, because that's where it's coming from. Is like you can just stumble upon happiness. Right, that could happen, and then but then that might happen early in your life, and then the rest of your life you're like, oh man, crap, I was really happy during this time. Why can't I be happy like that? But you really do have to work for it, and it takes discipline and like power over your own mind as well. I think that's really undervalued, is the mental aspect of it.
I think the first time I heard about David Goggins, which I didn't know who he was, but I'd seen a video with him in it. And I was very dismissive. I was like, okay, alpha male, we'll get up at 4 a.m. I don't want to do that. Like, that sounds like shit. But then when I actually took his stuff and really looked at it, I was like, no, this is some seriously powerful stuff that this guy's talking about. Just with being able to develop that mental toughness, because what's the downside to having a life where when you say you're going to do something, you just do it? Like, what's the downside of that? It's not an alpha male. It's not toxic masculinity. Yeah. That's like just having toughness. Another thing that has been important for me, at least, is being able to acknowledge my own privilege and like move past that and respect other people that maybe aren't where I'm at, but they've moved further than I have. Yeah. You know, like you might see somebody in the gym who's way more overweight than you, but you don't know where they were 6 months ago. Yeah. Like maybe they're 250 pounds now, but maybe they were 350, however. Yeah, you don't know their story. You don't know what's going on. Or a year ago or 2 years ago, and they've lost 100 pounds, and you're looking at them being like, wow, you know, at least I'm not like that. But you don't know they've made infinitely more progress.
Yeah, this has been a change, because this is not how I always thought about it, but it's on both sides of the spectrum. Whether if someone is just like super skinny, or if they are overweight, it's clear that they're there and they need to do some work for, you know, whatever their goals are. But it is so much harder to work out when you are not already in shape. Significantly harder, because you're like out of breath, you're like you know, like that, and when you're when you're inexperienced, you can't get like a proper muscle contraction because you're inexperienced, you don't know like the movement. So all these things, so like when I see people like that, it's motivating for me, because it's like am I in a comfort zone with how much I'm doing when I'm working out? Like if I'm being really honest, like they're pushing themselves, they're over there wheezing, you know. Like, am I pushing myself?
Yeah, you're just chilling.
You know, I'm just chilling, but like I've been doing the same weight for like 2 months. Yeah. You know? It's like, let's just be super honest, you know. And like, am I pushing myself the same way? And am I comfortable? And the answer would be, at least in working out, has been partly that, you know, I've been kind of like just okay with coasting and pushing myself to a comfortable level, if that makes sense. Right. Where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm like going to do one more rep, you know, but like I know that there's more to it that I can do, you know, like I can absolutely do. And now the context is very specific here, but it's important to know that this, like pushing yourself, can be applied to everything. Yeah. So with working out specifically, though, it's like I know that I have more in the tank when I'm done. You know, I'm not like sweating profusely. I am like afterwards. I like sometimes I'm like, did I even sweat that time? You know, and now granted, I'm not a heavy sweater, but at the same heavy sweater, I don't sweat heavily.
I'm not. I'm a light sweater.
Exactly. I'm a turtleneck. I don't know why that was so funny, but you know, you get what I'm saying though, and because it's all like comparative, but comparative to yourself. Yeah, that's really important, because when you reach this, because that's another point I think this is really important, where that comfort zone can come from is you're gauging like, okay, like where am I at compared to everyone else, you know, whether that's happening passively or like subconsciously or consciously, of saying like, oh, well, I'm better than my friend over there. You know, it's like, yeah, but you're not where you want to be at. You know, you're not where you can be at. You don't know how far
your friend, I mean, if they're your friend, you know how far they've come. But yeah, if it's just some random person at the gym, like they could have made infinitely more progress than I have when I'm looking at them being like, oh, I'm not there. But about like pushing yourself, when you have like pushing yourself that little extra bit, is also something that's really motivating. I know I was at the gym the other day, and I normally do pull-ups at the very beginning, because it's like the most difficult thing for me, or it's difficult after I've already done anything else like arm related. So I'll usually go in and like do my pull-up reps first, and that's something I started doing more recently, because for a while like I switched to Crunch Fitness, and the dudes there are just like, it's like a bro gym. Like the dudes are shredded, and I'm just like super self-conscious. I'm like I'm not in bad shape at all, but I'm not like some really big jacked dude. And I'm like, I don't want to be like, and I feel like for whatever reason I feel like doing pull-ups, because I've seen a lot of guys like go up to the pull-up bar and just sit there and like hang on it and like and I feel like it's like a show-off type workout, but like it's a very legitimate thing, and it's like super good for your core and your arms and your back.
Yeah, and bodyweight workouts, bodyweight exercises in general, it's great, because it also gives you proportionate to your body weight as
Right.
well. So like you're not just isolating one particular part or one muscle group, right? Like if you only work out biceps, for instance, like you're going to not be able to perform as well if you only do that in compound lifts. So the compound stuff is super important.
Right. But anyway, that's something that I had to struggle with before I was even like had to like build up the confidence to like go and do pull-ups at the gym, because I know that I can do pull-ups, but I was like, if I just keep doing this, I'll probably be able to do a huge load more.
Yeah.
But I was so like nervous to go and do pull-ups because I was like, these guys are gonna look at me and I'm like this little dude up there doing pull-ups and I'm not like some like shredded whatever, and I'm like putting myself like up in the air. Like I don't know why I had this like huge mental issue with doing pull-ups in front of a bunch of people at the gym.
Yeah.
So I started doing it, and then the last time I was at the gym, last week I was there, and I went in and there were like people by the pull-up bars and whatever. So I was like, I won't do them. Like I'll do them later. And I got to the end of my workout and I was like dead, and I hadn't done pull-ups. And so I was like, I sat there at the last machine, like debating in my head for like probably like 3 minutes of like, should I just go and try pull-ups? I was like, I'm gonna embarrass myself.
Oh
like, I'm
my
gonna
God.
go up there, and I'm like so worn out. I'm gonna get up there, and I'm gonna do like 5 or whatever pull-ups, and then I'm just gonna like hang there. And I was like, it's gonna be so embarrassing. I was like, I shouldn't. I was like, no. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like other people might look at me and they might think, wow, that guy only did 5 pull-ups and now he's done. But the guy who can't do any pull-ups might be like, wow, that guy just did 5 pull-ups. And so I went and I did it, and I did 5, and then I was like, all right, another round. And I like got, and I knew that I had pushed myself to my limit because I like started to pull myself up, and I got like halfway, and I was like, okay, I literally can't go. And so I just like held myself there and fell down. But I felt, as much as I was like embarrassed because that's like the least amount of pull-ups I've ever done at the gym, also like nobody's looking at me.
Yeah.
Like nobody gives a shit how many pull-ups I can do.
Yeah.
And nobody's like looking down on me or up on me. And it's not that I think that people are looking up on me. It's that I'm worried that people are like, oh wow, like some other dude who can do 25 or whatever is looking at me and being like, wow, you only did 5.
Yeah.
It's like I did 5 after I did everything else, and like I wasn't gonna do that 5, and I don't know. It's like this whole mental.
No, I know, I get it, and so like it's interesting that you bring that up because a kind of a similar experience that I've had is that some of the sometimes I'll do like time under tension training, or I've gone through like episodes where I'll do that pretty consistently. With time under tension training, you don't use heavy weight. It's very, very slow repetition, and it just like the name says, you're focusing on the time that your muscles under tension there, right? And so the times when I've been using either dumbbells or bench press or whatever it is, and I'm doing that particular type of training, and there's like, especially a girl that's like next to me lifting, right? And I'm like, she's literally lifting more than me right now. Like that bothers me a little bit. And it's not about it being a girl. It's about me being a much larger person. It could be a guy, you know. It's just that it's like that they're just lifting so much more than me. But it's very clear that like if I'm significantly larger than them, right? Like if I'm 6'5" or whatever, then they're like, you know, 5 foot flat, you know, and not muscular, then in my head I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense in my head, you know, but I gotta stay true to the training. Right. But also, like, that's just like we talked about. It's that comparison gets us into trouble sometimes, and everyone does that, you know. Like you, in order to learn skills, you model people, you know, and you're always looking to see like what your place is in like with your sort of surroundings with people, you know, like the whole reason you're the average of your 5 closest friends, you know, like there's a reason for that, you know. We're constantly looking at ourselves and kind of getting a reference point for where we should be. Right. And it's the same thing in the gym or in the workplace or in your family with your friends, whatever, you know. And so that kind of, but you have to be conscious of that. Right. And that's kind of another reason. This is kind of a separate topic. Why, you know, it's very important to if you have a friend that's maybe toxic or, you know, just, you know, definitely not a great influence on you, then why it's something that you should consider to kind of get them out of your life, because it has such significant impact, right? And why I should probably start going to Crunch Fitness because you know, I mean, Planet Fitness is a much more casual gym experience, and I was very intimidated when I started going to Crunch, and I did not like it, and I was like, oh, I want to go back to Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness was shut down. Yeah. And then after a while, I did, because I still had my membership. I went back to Planet Fitness, and I was like, this place is dead. I was like, especially the one in Columbia. Like, there are some people in very good shape there, but there's a lot of
older people, and the music is very quiet. And like at Crunch, you go in and it's like sensory overload. Like the music is blasting, and there's like every person you look at is just like in absolutely phenomenal shape.
It's awesome.
Like girls and guys. Like I'm like, there's chicks that are more ripped than I am, and I'm like, how is this? Not because they're girls, but like just typically, physiologically.
Yeah. I'm
like, this chick has better biceps than I do.
Okay, that specifically. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's like, wow, okay, I need to like up my game, and now I've really grown to appreciate what at first when I went to that gym I was like, this place is scary. Like, why are there so many muscular people here?
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people can relate with as well, is that like the intimidation factor of it, and like kind of having this sort of stigma about, and just like saying whether it's David Goggins or someone that's ripped, or maybe someone that's in like a full suit and like in like the corner office or something, and there's like this kind of like intimidating this whole idea of whatever they're about, and you just kind of use that to isolate and kind of like, maybe that's not me, but I think putting that aside and saying, well, I'm not going to judge that right away. I'm going to see what's up about this, because maybe I want something, maybe I can benefit from something that's like that. Like you said, you don't want to be super jacked, but like you've mentioned, you want to get in better shape, whatever that is for you, and there's other things as well of, if you mark that off and be like, I don't want to get jacked, so I'm not going to work out. Yeah. It's like you want to not push that aside too much. You want to think through it a little bit. Be like, hey, can I benefit from these people? Maybe these people that are super ripped and in phenomenal shape, maybe they can help me, get to a higher standard. So, I mean, that's for anyone, and myself as well, because obviously I'm not perfect with these things at all, not even remotely. It's just, yeah.
And I think that's the biggest impact that we want to have with this whole our conversational format, is that when you look at someone like David Goggins and you see what he's up to, we mentioned this earlier, it's hard to understand that, because he's so far above everybody else. Like the dude is, like we talked about, running 100-mile races all the time and doing 7,000 pull-ups, and that's like unimaginable how crazy that is. So we're trying to be here as like, we're just two dudes, and like we're pretty average, intelligence and average whatever, and we're out here trying to sort of push ourselves and discover what's behind our motivations, and how do you stay motivated or driven. I know something that David Goggins talks about is that like, it's not about motivation, like because if you rely on motivation, 50% of the time you're not gonna be motivated. It's on that
generous,
like,
absolutely.
mental training. So I hope with that, I think we're at a little over an hour.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific you would like to address?
I think we touched on a lot of really good stuff. Just being honest with yourself, and like you said, the benefits of like what we're doing right now is we're not to the point where we're unrelatable,
right.
But we're still pushing ourselves, but we're also just being super honest and about our experiences. Like you talked about times where you've come up short. I've talked about times where I've come up short, and it's important to have those experiences. Because right now our context, and I've said before, I'll say it again, that like people can relate to that so well. And because it's difficult to relate to someone that's running 100 miles, or doing, what was it, 7,000?
7,000 some pull-ups.
Yeah, 7,000 some pull-ups, and so like a bad day for him is going to be different than a bad day for me or a bad day for anyone that's watching.
Right.
And so even on his bad days, then it can kind of be difficult to relate to. But he came from a place where that was very relatable. That was, a place that I've never experienced even anything close to that, as far as like the discomfort, but it being a lot of pain, a lot of pain, right? What he came from, the place that he came from.
So 290 pounds, and he had to lose like 106 pounds in 3 months.
Yeah, or just ridiculously abusive upbringing.
Yeah,
and just coming out of all that. And so that's one of the great things that I love about his book, is that he goes back and talks about those times, and he talks about how like he had like his different his attitude that progressed, how he was like definitely not someone that would seek discomfort initially, right?
Yeah.
So talking about the whole journey, and so that's kind of like a unique thing that we have now, is that we're on that journey right? And it's, we're definitely, we're working hard, and we want to talk about that because it's not just about us progressing. It's about us sharing that with other people, and also hearing back from other people. If other people have input that they think that could, benefit us, you or I, or anyone that's watching, more to add to the topic,
Right.
then that's kind of like a platform for that. So that's all I have.
Yeah. And you just reminded me of one part in the book, and he basically put a challenge at the end of each chapter of like sort of like a self-assessment type thing. And normally when I'm reading a book, I'll always like go past those and I'll be like, oh, I'll work on that later. And I never do it, but with this one, I was like, no, I'm actually going to do these. And it was maybe the third or fourth one. He was like, you need to write down like why aren't you where you need to be at? Like who is holding you back? What physical ailment do you have that you think is keeping you from doing what you're doing? And I was like, I don't have any person. Like there's no really bad people in my life at this point. I don't really have anything. I'm a little short, but
Bro.
it's not holding me back in any huge way. And I realized like it's all the stuff I've been priding myself on. That's what's holding me back. It's my own privilege. That is exactly the thing that's keeping me from being where I want to be. And that's I almost skipped that like thought experiment challenge thing because I after reading that chapter and after reading that question, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can skip this one. I don't have anything that's like I don't have anybody that's abusing me, or I'm not super overweight, or like I don't have any of these issues, so I'll just skip this one. But I forced myself to like think critically, and that's where I realized, and I'm sure there's people out there that can relate to that your own privilege and your own like the things that you pride yourself on might be the exact things that are keeping you from being where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Last question. How will you continue to seek discomfort and raise that bar, and so you're always pushing out of that comfort zone? How do you plan to do that for yourself? Assuming that you do, because you have it tattooed on yourself.
Yes. So I do. I want to continue seeking discomfort on a daily basis, and I want to keep doing that with the 5-mile runs every day. So I do need to figure out what's going on with my leg, because that was not fun today. And it's not supposed to be fun, but again, the difference of injuring yourself versus seeking discomfort.
Absolutely, yeah. You gotta be intelligent about it.
But continuing to do that and just pushing myself a little bit every day, and then finding those opportunities to push yourself further. So that's like when you're like, oh, I'm gonna go running today. It's cold out, and then you look at the forecast, and it's like, oh, at 10 a.m. it's gonna start sleeting. I'll wait till then to run, and so that's what I did. And those little things, then it's like that's my new barrier.
Mm-hmm.
That's my new standard of discomfort,
mm-hmm.
or being out shoveling or whatever, which is another thing I did last week for a couple hours. I mean, I had to come in because I couldn't, like, I could feel my hands, but like I couldn't. It was very strange. Like they were so cold that it was like horrible pain, but also like I was like I could move them like this much. And I was like, okay, I should probably go warm up my hands. So I like went inside for 15 minutes, sat by the fire, and I was like, okay, that was like the most uncomfortable thing probably I've ever pushed myself to do. But I remember those experiences, and I didn't injure myself, and obviously I'm fine. And I think that's a big part of it as well, is like knowing that boundary of like where you're being stupid and where you're just pushing yourself further.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of raising that bar, I think just making things more extreme and setting new challenges for yourself, like the step from running in sweatpants and a sweatshirt to then just before my run that morning being like, I should try it shirtless and
Next step is balls out, bro.
yeah. Dude, I literally had that thought. I was like, how funny would that be if you're just out in like a sleet storm or a snowstorm. People are just like shoveling their walks, and you're just like bolting around the neighborhood, just absolutely naked. Not something I'm probably gonna try.
Don't recommend it. Don't
recommend it. But yeah, like pushing myself further. I want to try and run a marathon. There's a thing that David Goggins is doing, the 4x4 by 48.
Yeah.
Which we talked about 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Something I want to try. And just continuing to like up that, I think it's important to just up your baseline. Like that's what I realized. I had this baseline of discomfort that literally just walking outside in the cold, I was like, I hate this.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you move it to running outside in the cold, and then running shirtless, and then running while it's snowing, and then running through 6 inches of snow while it's sleeting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, then that's like the new level. And so anything below that, it's like, I know I can do that.
Yeah.
So
Which is great.
now walking out in the cold, even though I still feel the same cold going outside, I still dislike it just as much. Like, I have no room to pity myself for that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any leeway there, because I'm like, this is not nearly as bad as that run I went on yesterday in the sleet storm, you know, like.
That's a really great point. I know that we're going longer right now, but I think that's really important, is that, like, it's one of the benefits of pushing yourself like this, is because the point at which you're at right now, when you push yourself farther, what's challenging for you now will be easy for you later.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's so important, because, like, you're going to get more done. Your excuses are going to change. You know, your problems are going to change. Like, all these things, you're going to kind of shed that old self by pushing yourself. But that's how you do it. You seek discomfort. You figure out whatever it is that is holding you back, and you just attack it head on, or do whatever it is. Like running, for instance, like you said, running in the cold, or just finding that discomfort point, can also carry on to other areas of your life, right? Because it's mostly mental.
I mean,
right?
discomfort could literally be like, I guess you're not supposed to talk to strangers anymore because of the virus, but like going to the mall and just being like, you know, I'm going to like go ask some girl for her number or something like that. That could be, I mean, that would be pretty uncomfortable for me. I wouldn't be very comfortable just like walking up to some random person I don't know and like putting myself out there like that. And that's as much a mental battle as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a weird feeling that maybe some people will be able to relate to this, but I'm not typically like maybe this is gonna be weird, but I don't like if I'm with somebody, you know, like I'm going on a date with somebody or you know whatever, and it's like the first kiss moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I get this horrible nervousness, and I like by the time I decide like okay I'm gonna like. You know, like I really like this person, and I'm gonna like make this move. I'm gonna kiss them or whatever. Like I have to sit, like I'm like there for so long, just like battling in my own head about all the things that could go wrong.
Dang.
And like just this like huge amount of nervousness behind that. And I felt the exact same feeling before I was going out running.
Wow.
In the snowstorm, because my heart was like racing, and I was like it was the exact same feeling of just like. Coming up with all these reasons not to in my head, but knowing that like the moment was right and like I need to go out and do this. The exact same feeling. I don't know if anyone can relate to that.
No,
Sorry if that was weird. But.
No, I can relate to that actually, because it's a similar thing too, because I remember my first kiss ever, right, was just so hilarious.
Mine was bad.
So it's so funny, but I remember like similar thing of where I'm like shaking in my just to tell the story briefly. I forget what movie. I think it was like Night at the Museum or something like that. It was a while ago. It was a long time ago. Do you remember?
Star Wars: A New Hope.
Anyways, this is where the good stories are. Okay, so Night at the Museum. At the very end of it, I think we had like talked about it, right? We were like, okay, we're gonna kiss it because of this movie or something like that, or whatever. I forget how old I was.
We should kiss.
Yeah, literally, dude. I was I feel like I was like 12 or something like that, or 13. I don't even know. But so anyway, so we watched the movie, and at the very end of it, I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I literally said to her, I was like, if we're gonna kiss, we gotta do it now. and then I kissed her. So I kissed her, and then I back up and just like in my chair, I'm like shaking so much. Anyways, so the correlation with that is that feeling, right, where I'm like shaking like that, is a very similar feeling that I had when I before I went live with those workshops. So I did the workshop that you went to. Yeah. So I did a while ago. I did 2 different workshops on mental health, and before both of them, even though I was preparing and all that, I was just like, okay, you know, it was like not hyperventilating, but now it was different then because I have a lot better like mental tools, so I'm able to control that. And you know, one of the core distinctions there is kind of like the difference between feeling maybe like fear, for instance, and feeling excitement. Like the physical symptoms are very similar, but the difference there and what direction that goes is kind of what you say in your head, right? If you say, "Oh my goodness, I'm shaking. I'm kind of like hyperventilating a little bit. I'm really excited. I can't wait to do this. This is like, this is my next level type thing."
Right.
As opposed to, "Oh my goodness, like." what are they going to think? What if I totally fail? Like those, like that's the biggest difference there between those two things. Like and so, but that can change you from feeling like that fear or like that crazy internal struggle to, okay, yeah, this is great. Like I'm feeding off this, because you get energy from a lot of different places, and so that's just a distinction there. But anyways, I love the different sides of things that we offer, because we have two very different contexts, but it's just
museum, Star Wars.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyways, that's probably something that at least a lot of guys can empathize with. I don't know. Maybe now girls are making the move more. I don't know. Who knows? But I know in that particular case, it was all on me.
Yeah.
Probably all on you too. Same. And oh my goodness, the amount of pressure, man, it was nuts. I was like, dude, why am I like magically the person that's supposed to be able to deal with more pressure? Yeah. It's like, you could probably do a better job than me. It was back then. Oh my goodness, that was great. Oh, last thing with the whole seeking discomfort, something that I have done in the past, and I didn't really frame it as seeking discomfort, but it was definitely stepping outside my comfort zone, was just complimenting people. Yeah. And when I'm having like a conversation with them, and just like whether it's something stupid simple like their outfit, but I try to make it like not just be like, hey, nice hair by the way, I try to be like, like your shoes are really cool. I can see how you match them with your shirt there. Like it seems like you put a lot of time into that, and I appreciate you like taking care of yourself like that. It's really motivating for me, so like when I really like think about yeah, exactly, really expound on it, and just because I think people get surface compliments often, and this is kind of a separate thing, but I think it's been great for me because I get a great kick out of it. Because when you say like, oh, nice shoes, man, they're like, oh man, cool, that person said nice shoes, but when you're really like specific about it, right, and you really think it out, and you really highlight, like if for a girl, for instance, like if they did something great with their hair, it's just like that takes a long time, it's like, I appreciate your effort a lot. And so it's just, and it doesn't have to be like guy or girl, it doesn't have to be like flirtatious or anything, it doesn't have to be. And that's been something with me, is like not trying to get anything out of it, right? Literally just complimenting because it's something that I'm thinking in my head already, of like, oh, hey, I appreciate their outfit, or their whatever, then it's so fulfilling to see their face change. Yeah. I mean, like, oh my goodness, like I don't even know what to say right now. Thank you so much. Like that just made my day. Like when that's the response, it's like, oh yes, that's great.
This is just another funny story, but
okay, that's fine.
I was at Paul B. Zimmerman's.
Nice.
And I was getting a replica key made, or like a copy key.
Classic.
And the guy working at the machine, I knew that I was like, this is gonna be weird walking into Paul B's, because I had like black skinny jeans and like a Rolling Stone shirt with like the big tongue on it, and like bright red Vans or something like that, like high tops. And I was like, wow.
Listen to Pierce the Veil.
Yeah. I was like, this is gonna look interesting walking into Paul B's. I was like, I'm sure these guys are gonna like judge me. And this one guy was like, wow, dude, I love your outfit. And like the shoes are so cool, and he like kept going on about it, and I thought he was just the nicest guy in the world. And we started talking about music and whatever, and he was like, here, what could I get your number? And I'll like let me know if you have any shows coming up or anything like that.
That's great.
And I was like, cool. And I went home and I like told everyone about this. Like I was like, this super nice dude at Paul B's, right? So he calls me up a couple months later and tries to get me involved in a pyramid scheme. So we met at Starbucks, and he started explaining this business model to me, and I was like, sir, this is a pyramid scheme.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. That's so funny.
I don't know if his motivations might not have been.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but okay.
Quite as pure.
If you
still made me feel good.
If you said the same things though, right? And like you said, it still made you feel good, but just having a compliment, but really meaning it. Like being like, people can tell when you're being authentic. People can tell when you really mean what you say. When you look someone in the eye, and you, well, eyes, hopefully they have too. But when you look someone in the eyes and you compliment them, I really think that is just, because like you said, you went home and told it, like everyone, and it takes zero, I mean, not zero effort, but it takes such little effort right, to give a compliment. You know, it's just
have to start, I think you have to start doing it because it's something that I've gone in like phases.
Yeah.
Of times that I decide I'm going to be just like ridiculously nice to everyone. And then I'm like, I don't want to be that guy that's just like so overly nice that it doesn't seem authentic. But you can tell, like, there's like a...
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked to people where I'm like, why are like you're acting like this because I feel like you're trying to get something, versus people who are just genuinely like the sweetest and nicest people, and that's something that I have so much respect for. Just people who are genuinely incredibly.
And that's another thing that you can do with that is not just making surface level compliments, especially if you know the person. Like for you, for instance, if I meet up with you, like I'm not gonna say, "Hey man, nice hair," you know. It's just like it's just because we've been friends for such a long time. I mean, if you do something different, yeah, maybe. But I like when the compliment that I think of, whatever comes to mind, is be more in the line of like, "Hey man, like you work really hard. You know, like you are a tough SOB, and you're really working for it. You're a hard man, exactly." And so when you acknowledge somebody for like the efforts that they put into it, and you really
so tall.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like it's like, wow, you're so tall, that's awesome. It's like cool. Like I don't know.
I know.
Yes, I am literally tall. It's like I don't know what you want me to say about that. But yeah, just being specific about that and just being like appreciative and also I think that a precursor to that is practicing gratitude, because I don't think that everyone is always focused, because this might be an issue for some people, is if they're trying to go out and compliment people, is like if you don't have like a gratitude mindset, if you haven't trained that with yourself, or if you don't have that naturally, that it's going to be difficult for you to look for things that you appreciate or you enjoy. That's not what your focus is on, So if you're like, oh man, this sucks, this line is really long, like the smoothie's probably not going to be very good, and be like, oh, that person looks like a hobo. It's just like if that's what you're focusing on, then you're not going to be coming up with compliments.
Yeah.
If you're like, you know what, this is fine. I'm in this line, but like, oh, this person behind me, like they look great. They have their two kids. They're doing a great job. They seem really, well temperamented.
Nice children.
Nice children. Exactly. And no, but you could say like, hey, it might not always be like that. But your kids are really well behaved, and I know. I mean, I don't know that from personal experience because I'm not a parent, but I know from watching my parents that it takes a lot of work to really, really parent well. And I just want to let you know that's motivating for me, and it gives me a really great example. Like you can have that impact on someone in line like that, but you have to be looking for it.
And it has to be something, I think, like some of the greatest compliments that I've ever received, which are very few, have been things that I didn't think anybody would notice.
Okay, yeah.
That's like something like a little action or something like that. I remember when I was doing some sailing stuff, and this whole time while I was out there, like I made a conscious effort to just, if somebody would ask me to do something, like I would just say, yeah, I would love to. And it was like, you want to go like hoist the sail or you want to go like clean the toilet or whatever, just being like, yeah, I'd love to. And I didn't know, nobody made any comments about this the entire time until the very end. After 3 months, one of my teachers wrote me this note, and she was like, I noticed every time I ever asked you to do something, you said that you would love to. And I thought that was like the most motivating thing. And I'd gone the whole time thinking nobody noticed that.
Butterfly effect, man.
And when I got that compliment, or just like that notice of that thing that I had been very consciously trying to do that I didn't think anybody was noticing, but like it was helping me. So I just would, like, I was doing it for myself because it helped me stay happier and more motivated in like difficult times or whatever, or just doing things you don't want to do. Like if somebody asks you to, like, I don't know, if my dad asked me to, like, yo, you want to go shovel the snow outside? Because he asked me as a joke, and I was like, at first I was like, I do not want to do that. But then I was like, like, let's take this opportunity and just like do something I don't want to do. And I'm like, I think just looking for those opportunities. I don't know, I'm just rambling, but
no, I get what you're saying though, and
create value.
Yeah, and like people notice that, and so it's not just. Because I mean, this is a little bit of a side note from the whole gratitude mindset of changing the way that you walk into activities. If you're like dragging your feet, like people notice that, and if you are super excited attacking it, then the people notice that as well. But also, like you said, like people noticing the things, like the small things, And I think that's why one of the reasons why like I mentioned the whole like you're working really hard with this, And it's just like when somebody is like, oh my goodness, like. it's like maybe they haven't even told themselves that, like they don't even appreciate that about themselves, when they're pushing through it and they're so stressed out, it's just like they don't take a moment and realize like you're pushing so hard, and I'm not saying that you're at your finish line yet, but you're on your way, and that's very admirable. I think saying those words can really help people. And so it's not just about like me feeling great about myself, I do think that, they wouldn't go home and tell people about it, like in your case. And I've also had those cases where I've gone home and told people, and been like, oh my gosh, this person said this about me, and like that was really, really cool. And I didn't really even think anything of it, but yeah.
I was in a situation recently where I found out that a trait that somebody had that made me uncomfortable was the thing that I admired the most about them.
What was this?
It was the thing that I lacked the most.
Okay.
Or I don't know if it's something I lacked the most, but it's somebody who I realized was 100% authentic. Like
okay.
They didn't put on a show for anybody.
Okay.
And this made me sort of like uncomfortable in certain situations because, like, if I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Were they confrontational at all?
Somewhat.
Because I know someone, and I won't tell you the relation to this person because for their own anonymity, but someone that I am close with. He is very, very, like you said, authentic, right? And he, like, if you do something that bothers him, he'll tell you that, like, immediately. But it's not in, like, a hurtful way at all. He just very effectively communicates, like, hey, what you said over there bothered me. Now, I've never had that, that's just an example, right? It's a general example. But it's so great for me because, like, when I'm communicating with him, I don't feel like I have to tiptoe around him and kind of feel like, okay, did I hurt this person's feelings? Or like, is this something that he actually wants to do? Or, like just, I don't have to overthink those things. I can just be like, oh yeah, he's just going to tell me if he doesn't want to do something or if, whatever that is. He's just going to tell me, which is great, but at the same time, it can be slightly uncomfortable sometimes to be called out, in those things of, just in general.
Right. Absolutely, and this was something with this particular person where I was just like, it made me uncomfortable, and I thought deeply about just trying to be grateful and whatever, and I paid that compliment to them like, hey, you're really like you're a very authentic person, which is something that I find myself sometimes mirroring people's. Like if I find someone that's cool that's in a friend group or whatever, and I find like a trait that I can like latch onto, like it's completely subconscious, but I'll find myself like mirroring that trait or whatever. And maybe that's,
vast majority of people do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if that's like.
Well, yeah, it's called mirroring and matching, and people do it all the time. But it's essentially like when you feel like you either are like someone or someone is like you want to be, then you subconsciously try to get what's called rapport. And I'm pretty sure rapport. Yeah. So you try to get rapport, and part of the way that you do that is mirroring and matching, which is you can match their tone, you can match their physiology, how they carry themselves, or traits like that. And you can find things that are maybe like, for instance, I used to play bass guitar. Maybe when I'm with you, I'm more likely to talk about that my interest in bass guitar, even though it's like 6 years old. And if I were to talk to someone else, I would never even think to bring up bass guitar.
Right.
But it's just we're constantly thinking of things of how do we find things that are in like with someone so that we can have more congruency with that person. We can have a bit deeper connection. So it's totally that was a total tangent on what you were talking about, but like you're talking about someone that is very authentic that maybe doesn't do that.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
But that's not. Yeah. Again. So maybe. If somebody has a trait that makes you uncomfortable, like analyzing where that discomfort comes from, like does that trait make you uncomfortable because it's something bad with them, or because you realize that it's something that they have that you don't have?
Mm-hmm. That could be very and I think understanding what emotion you're feeling about it, because like if you feel angry, for instance, and this is just the method that I go by, and you've heard of this because you've been to my workshop, but understanding what those emotions mean. So if you're feeling angry, then according to what I follow, then that usually means that it's some sort of rule that someone has broken or you've broken, that you're feeling the anger. And so then you kind of think of like what rule are they breaking? Maybe someone is super adventurous and you're like, no, we need to follow the rules right now. And then when you're like, okay, wait, I got angry with that person because I have a rule for myself that I always follow the rules, period, no matter what, even if they're loose rules or maybe they, I don't know, whatever. But they're super adventurous and they go out and they're willing to do whatever, but they want to have a good time. So maybe you think about it and you're like, you know what? I kind of want to be more adventurous. Maybe that's where this is coming from. Some of this anger is that I want to be adventurous and I've been holding myself back. So then that's kind of where that breakthrough can come from. So same thing with, whether you're feeling like fear or sadness or any of the other emotions, it can lead to, someone you wanting to be more like someone. Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, I think it's a great place to stop it. I think we went on for the last 20 to 30 minutes, just telling random stories and a little bit of tangents. I hope you guys enjoyed it so much. I hope that you guys got something out of it. The main takeaways around it was just seeking discomfort and the benefits of that. So I hope that you guys had takeaways and you are, enjoyed our stories, enjoyed our process, because that's kind of what this is. It's a process, right? And so we're on our way through it. And Drake, do you have any closing words?
Some things to think about, the notes I have here, all right, how seeking discomfort can help just to wrap up, help with you building the self-respect you have, or building the respect you have for yourself by following through on your own commitments, pushing yourself further, trying to work on breaking that I don't feel like it thing, which is something that I struggle with a lot. I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
And then the dangers of being comfortable and how that can negatively impact you. Maybe your issue, your great thing that's holding you back is the fact that you're comfortable. That's what it was with me. And then breaking down mental barriers and what that can do in terms of being able to push yourself further.
Yep. And my wrap up similar to that would be that if you want to be better than you are, you can. You're not trapped in your particular circumstance. You can figure out a way. You can find those resources that you haven't tapped into. You're also you have more potential than I think anyone can even realize. And part of this is finding that potential and tapping into it. And I can tell you that part of the stop of people typically pushing forward is that uncomfortable action, right? Where it's uncomfortable and you feel you're a little bit nervous or a little bit anxiety or whatever that is, or fear, and then you don't push through it. But I can tell you that is so worth it to push to the other side, because you just feeling that progress, feeling so much better about yourself because you finally followed through. I can tell you that it's 110% worth it.
Yeah.
And that is so much closer to your true self. And if you're looking for a fulfilled, happy life, it is not by doing the same thing every day. It is not by staying stagnant. It's not by not pushing yourself. It is by pushing yourself.
Yeah.
It's by finding that uncomfortable action or seeking discomfort and getting outside your comfort zone. So that's what this is all about. And once again, for maybe the third time, I hope you guys enjoyed. And maybe we'll come up with a different name other than Drake and Josh Podcast eventually. But that's what it is for now. Anyways, guys, hope you guys are having a great day.
Stay a hustler, stay a grinder.
Stay a grinder. Stay a grinder.
Stay a grinder.
Where's the